Peace. Yo, to add on a little bit about what I was just doing, like I said, I work with this volunteer organization. We build homes from from the bottom up. We provide shelter for low-income families. Today being knowledge God and then manifest and build or destroy. It's like when you think about building is like the science of sweat equity. You know what I'm saying? Sweat equity is basically putting your time, your energy, and your sweat literally into, what you're trying to construct, as well as, certain things you're trying to destroy. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times people may have an addiction to something, and, if you ever seen it on TV or even literally, or, if you went through it yourself, when people are trying to kick the habit, they sweat a lot. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things that they go through. So it's kind of like when you see the science of building as well as destroying, you can take it to the build degree in the 1 to 40s. What makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes? It says the earth is approximately covered underwater, approximately 3/4 of its surface. The sun and moon have attractive power on our planet while it's traveling at a terrific speed of 1,037 1/3 miles per hour on its way around the sun. The sun draws its water up into the earth's rotation, which is called gravitation, in a fine mist which the naked eye can hardly detect. As this mist ascends higher and increases with other forms of mist in a different current of the atmosphere, she then becomes heavier than gravitation, then distills back to the planet in the form of drops of water, drops of ice, depending on how heavy the mist was and which current of air she was in. There's some layers of currents real cold and warm, others very swift and changeable. When this mist strikes a cold current, it becomes solid ice in small round drops and forms, or in a light fluffy form, which is called snow. This water is never drawn above 6 miles from the Earth's surface by the sun and moon. The reason that it rains back onto our planet because this water cannot get into the Earth's atmosphere with the high speed of rotating makes it impossible. Earthquakes are caused by the sun of man experimenting with high explosives. In fact, all that above is caused by the son of man. It's like building definitely is a process where I said you're dealing with the science of sweat equity. Sweat equity deals with energy into motion. You see? So energy and emotion is another way of saying emotion. So when you deal with the different layers of currents, real cold and warm, others very swift and changeable, that signifies not only the atmosphere of the planet, but it also represents the emotional atmosphere of an individual. When you're dealing with building, that's an emotional investment. You know what I mean? When I got knowledge of self, my enlightener, he invested a lot of time in me. We walked together for a long, period of time, and, he made sure that I got my degrees, and that was his sense of sweat equity. So it's like as you go through the 8 points of the flag, which is our 8 fundamental bodies of lessons, which is the supreme mathematics, is the first point. So yeah, when you look at the universal flag, the 8 points of the sun represent the 8 fundamental or primary building blocks that we use. They represent different sections of our study. First point being the supreme mathematics, and then you have the supreme alphabet, and I'm going counterclockwise. Then after that you have the 1 to 10s, which is a student enrollment. Then you have the 1 to 14s, which is lost found lesson number 1. Then you have 136, which is English C lesson. Then you have the 1 to 40s, which is the lost found lesson number 2. You have actual facts, you have solar facts. Now add on to that, or basically what that is supposed to consolidate into is our 12 jewels. So, like I said, I was just at this project and I was torquing. I was going through all the rooms, hundreds of screws, and I was torquing them, drywall screws, so that, the next group could come in, and then we could basically, seal over the screws, and then eventually we'd be ready, in some time to finish painting on the inside. Like I said, you can never minimize the time that a person is willing to spend with you in order to build with you, and, have that type of emotional investment, like I said, and seeing that, you develop into the person that by nature you're supposed to be. And when I say the person that you're supposed to be by nature, I just mean, all the greatness and the divinity that lies within you. You know what I mean? You take it, like I said, to that build degree, and it deals with, the different type of emotions of the planet. The different type of layers of currents that you go through. And, sometimes, investing sweat equity in a project or a person or things like that, it could be a real cold current, you know what I'm saying? Meaning that, a lot of times you may not see necessarily on the surface, the type of nutrients, the type of energy, and the type of time. You may not see that life, and that's symbolic to like the winter time. You know what I mean? Even though, it looks like the trees are losing all their leaves and everything looks dead, in reality they're not. It's almost like a state of conservation or hibernation, actually, where, the plants and stuff like that are maintaining and preserving their nutrients so that, when the time comes, they'll be able to manifest new life again. So, a lot of times, like I said, sometimes if you invest in time and energy and even resources, finances in a project and it looks like it's a cold current, that doesn't necessarily mean that, that all you have and all within your power is not going to manifest in one particular day, Then at the same time, it's like you look at, there's other currents that's warm. You know what I'm saying? And what that means is, like, just because you warming up, you know what I'm saying? You produce a sweat, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing anything. And, a good analogy of that is like, brothers that's real, fond of dealing with savior quality unknown. And savior quality unknown is just sex. So it's like, a lot of times a brother could be huffing and puffing and jumping up and down on some power you and just thinking that he doing his thing. You know what I mean? And the whiz just sitting there laying there like, yeah, when you going to be done? You know what I'm saying? But she may not tell you that you ain't doing nothing because, she knows how big your ego is, Yakub. But anyway, it's like just because a situation may appear to be warm doesn't necessarily mean that, everything that you're given all within your power and stuff like that is going to be manifested in one day, you know what I mean? Or that you're actually doing something or generating any type of progress, you know what I mean? Then you look at the other currents that's swift and changeable, meaning that, it's kind of like it's hard to hit a moving target sometimes, So just because something is always here or there, it just seems very arbitrary. It doesn't necessarily mean that, your seeds are falling on barren soil, you know what I mean? Which means like it's like sometimes you could be building or putting forth your time, your effort, and your energy and investing in certain things, and it may be like a stock market. It may be going all up and down like this, you know what I'm saying? And you sitting there like, you know what I mean? But a lot of times, that could mean that, your type of investment is something that is going to be progressive in the long term. It may not be something that, you just invest in right now, you just pull out on real quick, and it's not high risk, So, as far as that, I just wanted to build with y'all for a minute on, the science of building and how I'm dealing with it today, literally. And that, just to encourage all y'all to, always, be mindful of the way in which you're building and the amount of time, the energy, finances, resources, or whatever you're pouring into something or someone, because that is your sweat equity. You know what I mean? Peace.